work tonight, so. Okay, so let's call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we'll have a moment of silence for our APA family members, our current members, our past members, and those that have gone before us. Okay. I heard that buzzer go off in the gym, and I was like, does that mean we're done?
We coordinated that.
Yeah. Okay. I need a motion for an approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda for the March 2nd board meetings written.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor with the sign of aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay. Do we have anybody here for public comment? No? Which I guess begs the question, we moved this meeting to later in the evening to have more participation, and I'm not sure we're getting a lot of participation, so that should be something as the next board, the next year, that we probably should entertain whether or not you want to move it back to during the day. And
We started out good.
Yeah.
Before COVID,
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
before COVID, and I think because we now have the online option, we
Okay.
have a lot of people that hop on there. But
So I'll just encourage you to think about it going forward. Okay, need a motion for the approval of the minutes from last meeting. And I know we had discussion about one member that we thought was here, but really wasn't here. So we're good.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the last meeting on February 1st.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of our February 1st, 2022 meeting. Any discussion? All four with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, minutes are approved. Next is the CEO report that's in your packet. It's dated March 1st, 2022. Need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the February CEO report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the February CEO report with the March 1st date line on it. Any discussion?
Well, let's see, I've got a few questions, I guess
Okay.
that would constitute
That
a
would be
discussion
discussion.
here. Yeah, let's see. You mentioned that I think there were 2 food service audits. The food service is done, the food procurement audit is still to be done. Who's doing that? Who authorizes that?
the Indiana Department of Ed,
The,
the Department of Education.
oh, okay. Okay, on both audits then? And will CLA do that also, or something else?
No, it's
will?
completely separate.
Ah,
So all of our grant programs, the Department of Education acts as the state education agency on behalf of the federal government. And so they are required to conduct audits sporadically. We've just kind of hit the jackpot this year
Yeah.
that all the sporadically has aligned. So the food service audit, the first audit that we went through and came down to we needed an extra crouton in our chef's salad.
Yeah, that was, wow.
Yeah, so it is, let that be an example of how thorough it actually
Yes,
is.
wow.
So they go through all of the finances, all of the reporting that we're required to do. our menu selection, all of the, USDA governance, and make sure we're all in compliance. And so that's what it is. The procurement side basically deals with how we procure our various food or services. Because we have a FCMC, which basically is a food service management company.
Right, which we talk about later, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only procurement we do. To go through that, we go through an RFP bid process. We are currently on our third renewal with the company. You can do up to 4. So a year from now, we'll be talking RFP to go looking for food service again. So,
I
but
remember the last time that we voted on that, I didn't know that it had been 2 times prior. Okay.
yeah, so that's what they do. We've submitted everything on APA's part to that audit, and they'll go through what we've submitted, and then they'll generate a whole another list for the food service management to answer.
Okay. Let's see, my questions are very minor here, but you mentioned under the GEER grant, the GEAR grant, you cite a federal grant specialist. Who might that be? I didn't know we had one.
It's with the Department of Education.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that is a state grant, though, as I recall, or am I wrong on that?
It is a state-managed grant. It came from the Governor's Emergency Fund.
Right.
That they were funded by the federal
Oh,
government.
okay, yeah.
So there's a couple routes on that one.
And it is to prove that we really do read that CEO report thoroughly here. You
And I put a
mentioned
lot
that-
of jargon in it, so I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
ESSER, yeah, we're learning some of the jargon here finally. ESSER 2, you said it was under third-party review.
Yes.
Isn't that would be the single audit of CLA? Is that the third, or it's a different third party?
Nope, it's a different one.
Oh, okay.
So we had to do an amendment, and the IDOE has outsourced to third-party reviewers for all of their federal grants, because there are so many of them now with all of the pandemic relief. And so we send it to IDOE, they send it out, their third-party reviewers find corrections and then come back. A lot of it has been the federal government keeps updating guidance.
yeah.
And so then you've got to go back into your grant update to make sure your wording matches what the federal government is now doing. So
Okay.
we're in that part again.
Yeah, and then I guess, well, audits here. Beth, we have no audit questions from lingering from last meeting. I think we finally got straightened out on what's going on there. On the Medicaid audit, now, will CLA do that, or is that the
Nope,
IMAC?
CLA only does the school finances.
Okay.
So NMAC, basically, there's a separate company that IDOE outsources to.
Okay.
And so we submit to them, and then they review it. We also use that same company to submit our requests for reimbursement, so we should be fairly aligned on that one.
Okay, that's all I had.
With the position, the federal grant specialist, compliance coordinator, that assist with all the audits? It seems like these audits lap off a lot of time with the sheer volume.
Yes, that is the hope, so that I can keep my hair. But yes, the person that we would be hiring, one, they would help me prepare all of these grants, but also provide all the oversight for it and make sure that our programming is receiving the instructional support it needs to be successful, as well as making sure, I's dotted and T's crossed.
Well, that'd be a welcome position for sure.
Yes, it will be nice, and that'll probably be a 2-year transition to get it completely away from me, because it's just such a bulky thing,
yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
looking forward to what comes.
Yeah, that's true.
With the grant that Mr. Stratemeyer was able to get for the course in the math department, will that be a course that's offered to seniors? Okay.
Yes, so the intent is that it would be for 4th-year students, for seniors, especially those that are experiencing that gap, because the state of Indiana only requires the 3 years. And so right now, we have a couple math classes that are available to those seniors, but one's finite, which kids are really enjoying, but the other are pre-calculus or AP calculus. And we have students that might not be the direction they want to go, but we want to make sure that they're getting some of those basic skills to just keep going. But looking forward to adding that class. And this is a pilot with the Department of Education, so we kind of get to make it our own and see how it goes.
So I think under the COVID-19 and the reported positive COVID cases, you need to add another column and put board.
Hey,
Sorry.
according to the health department, I no longer have to report. So,
That's great. Just, I'm asking for the Cliff Notes version of the HVAC.
okay,
So there's one line in there, they're receiving bids from other contractors to ensure the project stays within budget. That's on their dime, not our dime, right? Thank you.
yes.
That's up to them whether it stays on budget. It's not up to us.
Right.
I want it to be very clear on that. And then have they given you a drop dead timeline? Are we gonna be ready by the time the fall semester starts?
Yes, we'll be ready in August, possibly mid-July. They have actually started the work on the electrical. This is now up to date again. So they've picked their company and they've actually started. Next week, we will be shutting down part of these two hallways that surround the gym because they're going to reinforce the roof and get ready to install our roof units, and there'll be a huge crane and all that. So
Did they end up going with the 2 units or the 1?
yes, the 2 units.
Okay.
How much reinforcement do they have? That was a question I was gonna have is, okay, so are they reinforcing it?
Yeah, they're gonna be putting in at least one additional steel beam. They've brought in a bunch of engineers and done a lot of testing and what ifs and could we do it this way, could we do it this way? And they've settled on this steel beam that will go through our existing structure and not be exposed. And so it just builds what we have, because if you've been in the gym, so you know kind of where that is, all of that will be pulled out and there will be new structures put in there. So, very sturdy. I'm learning quite a bit. Theoretically.
I had to search RTU earlier. I learned something.
Yeah.
Yeah, having to jump into their jargon on top of our alphabet soup has been great. And I can't even, there was something where they were using something, we use the same thing, completely different terms. So,
Maybe we could offer a class in structural engineering or something, I don't know, after this.
we could build it out of our maker spaces.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All for approving the CEO report with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, report passes. Now to the highlighted portion of the Cliff Notes version of our financial report.
Okay, let's see here. I got it all, I got my cheat sheet all on one page here, so let's start. Our latest, Beth, our latest projected year end is increased by 98,000 some dollars to 184,078, our cash net income for the year. And that's up from last month's projected 85,737. And again, we're now well ahead of our original budget. That amount was 51,190. And when we put the budget together last May, we were thinking about 1.7 million in cash. And if those projections hold, we're looking at 1,857,806 for our ending cash balance. And we, of course, now have our reconciled second ADM count. The first one was 782, second one 780. So for a change, we shouldn't lose too much in those last 3 months of the year on state support. I tried to rough it out. I don't think it would be more than 3,900, 4,000 something. So that would be good news. And let's see, getting into the particulars then of what caused that increase in our projections. Total year income was up in the amount of $107,952. And after going through all of that, I determined that most of that increased in projected year income seemed to be coming from our E-rate program. And without getting too much into the details, there was a little bit of confusion. Our original projected amount was $244,500. And we had cut that back, I think, to about $138,477 last board meeting. And what it looks like now is we did get 16,000 some dollars way back in July, and we're anticipating 228,273 in June. And Beth, your footnotes indicated that I'm not sure what's going on, but you guys maybe do, hopefully. Apparently, the historical pattern has been 2 payments, July and December. So apparently something has changed a little bit from their
Well,
history.
because I didn't know exactly when we were doing it, I put it in July, or June, I mean.
June,
We may get some in the next month or so, but I didn't know
okay.
exactly where it was, so it wasn't skewing the numbers. I just put it in June, and I'll adjust it when we get money in.
Oh, okay. But the odds are pretty good that we'll get a pretty good chunk of that before the end of the year, I'm thinking.
Correct.
So that's good, yeah. I know some of you are very familiar with the E-rate federal program. Is this something that, now I know that if you are involved with the E-rate program, you get discounts on internet, hardware, and other things to provide the internet. Is this something where you spend the money, the discounted amount, you spend the money first and then get the reimbursement? Or do they give you funds and tell you to go out and spend it?
This is a complex year on that.
Okay.
So part of it, I think
You
there's
want me to
kind of.
withdraw the question?
Yeah, withdraw your question, it's too complicated. So there's kind of 3 parts to this one. One, we get a discounted rate through some of our vendors where that's just it. The E-rate goes directly to them and we just pay our 80% and that's it.
That's it.
And then we have another version now because we got, for lack of a better word, a grant from E-rate. That's an addition because
Okay.
of the pandemic. So it's part of the pandemic relief. And so we'll see a large payment from that. Now, that's money we had already spent, and we're hoping that eventually they would reimburse us.
Right.
Then we have the third category where we do spend the money first, and then they reimburse us the 20%.
Okay, a little bit of everything
So
then.
it's a
So,
trifold.
Yes, well, that'll be easy to project then for the next 12 months. Let's see, one thing that is kind of lingered from our last board meeting, it looks like we're not anticipating any more school, or summer school money. Let's see, we got 48,000 some in November, I believe, and the budget originally, we thought 110,000. What's happening there, I wonder?
So with that is that the state was over their allocation. And so when we built the budget, because during February and March, that's when we submit our initial estimate for summer school, and they reimburse us up to 105% of that cost. But everybody did summer school last year because of COVID,
Oh, okay.
and so there just wasn't enough of the pie
Nothing
for it.
left. Okay,
Yeah, everybody was cut. All the schools that I work with got cut
yeah,
that
okay.
did summer school.
Yep.
Well, we're still well ahead of our budgeted figures, so that's good. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, okay, we talked about the revenue. Looking at the increase in our projected total expense, only $9,611 higher. So we pretty much, from one month to the next, we're holding the expense pretty well. And Beth, I noticed we did get that peculiar negative balance in the ground repairs. Yeah, we replaced a negative 13,000 with, 406,882.
Yeah, there was an adjustment, and it had to do with, it got confusing with the ESSER, because I felt like last month it wasn't right, and they said it was, well, it wasn't. I said, we've got to fix, and we looked into it, and it wasn't. So it was related to the ESSER and how it was allocated, and then the innovation grant. So I went through and again, I re-estimated we looked at all the expenses that had been expended so far on the ESSER and then reallocated that. So that was a big combination of those that put everything back in line.
Okay. Did that explain, that probably cleared up that mystery we had on the building improvements
Building,
line?
yes, it was.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Well, we had 2 or 3 months fun, I guess, with that, and so that's good. Thank you for doing that, incidentally.
Oh,
And,
no,
I should have said something at the last board meeting, but quite frankly, we've got so many projects going on. How do you know precisely what accounts to park them in before the work has even started on many of them? So I think we're doing pretty good in getting everything where it should be. And as long as we have it done by the end of the year, I think everybody should be very happy about that. Let's see here. Oh, one last thing on the projected year end. We're showing 0 rental income for the year. Is that accurate? Are we not getting anything from 25th Street? I know we got a lot of tenants there.
They are doing donations.
Oh, so it's under donations.
It's under
Okay.
donations when we receive money from them. it
And
goes
I'm just
into
glad the
donations.
building's full. I mean, you're full, even though we're not getting much out of it. Okay, now going to January then. January had a cash net loss of $52,795, which was less than the budgeted loss of $140,000. And again, that's just one of those months where we don't have any big grants or anything coming in. So that's not exactly, that's not an alarm situation where we have some of our months throughout the year projecting a net cash loss. Let's see here.
And I don't know if you noted on the controller report, we mentioned there's a lot of outstanding ESSER money, which is why our general fund is down a little bit. And that'll, because we've already spent the money, so it still has to come in, and then that'll increase that because it's just a big difference in everything. So that will all work itself through.
Yeah, it
and so
magnifies
we've got a lot of grant money out because of these ESSERs. It's large numbers.
Yeah, let's see here.
So
Yeah, go ahead,
with
Mike.
the ESSERs, we're not paying the money out until the money's coming in, or are we floating?
No, ESSER, you have to pay for it. It's the federal grants. You got to pay for it and then ask for it.
Okay,
And because it's so large, and fortunately our cash balance is good,
right.
because it's so large, you have to pay for it and then ask for it.
Okay, so.
Which is all federal grants. I mean, that's
Sure.
the way Title I and all of those work. We have a lot of federal grants going on right now, so that impacts cash.
I guess I misspoke. What I meant to ask is, do we have a lot more than normal going out? Which
Yes.
is, especially with the HVAC project and some of those others, and are we in good enough shape to cover that?
So as of right now, because on that controller report, down at the bottom, it always says reimbursements that are coming in. That totals almost $629,000. So that's huge. And an ESSER alone is almost $600,000. It's $588,000. So that's a lot. I mean, compared to what we normally have.
Yeah.
I know we've got enough, thankfully, to cover it. If this would have happened 2 years ago,
Yes, we
we would
would
have
have,
been in deep.
we would not
Yeah.
covered much, yeah.
So I know you're staying on top of it and you're communicating it, and I just caution that we make sure that fortunately we're in a good cash position right
yes.
now and we can go through.
Right.
But
That's right.
that's just obviously something to watch.
But that's why the cash was down to only
yeah.
53, and at the end we anticipate having the 1.8, but 600,000 of that is because it's out in reimbursements.
Yes.
And there's normally always some, but normally it's around $100,000. So we're talking it's significantly higher.
So that answers part of my question on paying for the HVAC. I don't want to get into a position where we're paying for the completed work before it's actually checked, but we don't get reimbursed until we pay it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
We have worked out a payment plan with them. And most of what we have paid for now is equipment that has already been received in their warehouses.
Okay.
And so it's working through that. I have also requested a performance bond so that they are on the hook to make sure everything
Okay,
is in and financially, if everything is working before they do that.
Okay.
Okay. Speaking of a classic timing, going back to January, the reason that the total expenses were well below budget, for some of the reasons you just mentioned, income was off because mostly food service was off. I think we received $2,000 some dollars, and we thought 70. And of course, that is a classic timing issue that always makes it difficult to interpret monthly data.
That one is because we didn't get reimbursements for 2 months because of the audit.
Okay, I wondered
So
if
that's
it
the
was
reason
okay.
why that's off. That timing is always going to be off for this year, but that's the reason why.
Is
And then
that
we'll
audit?
pick back up and we'll be fine.
Okay. How will that affect us how many more months might that impact us negatively?
It's done.
It's
We've
done.
done both of them. There was
Okay.
2 months, so we're fine.
All right. That's all I have, really.
And you answered the question that I had that prior to the meeting starting with regard to our support, our state support money being the same as the budget, and it will be that
Yeah,
way going
and
forward.
it'll change a little bit with the February count, but we'll adjust for that as soon as they adjust the 54. But right now, that's what's on the 54 report, and that's why it agrees for 1 month.
And the February count went from 782 in the fall to 780, which is great, which is still 5 above what we ended up estimating or budgeting going forward. So that's a positive, and I'm glad we were a little conservative on the front end when we were doing the budget last year, because I think we originally took it from 810 down to 775 or 800.
Or
Well, that was your
Down to
call, I remember. That was a good
775.
call.
So we're good there. And this is just peanuts here. I'm just, I say peanuts and it's $10,000, but the Hartford Group refund, what is that? I mean, is that the reimbursement for it's not anything to do with the vehicle, is it?
No.
What is the Hartford Group refund?
So which line are you on?
I'm on line, let's see, 203.
So Hartford.
So it's
Group-
probably workers' comp is my guess, because they had an insurance audit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're showing a credit, yeah, in that expense column, and so.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
We had
Okay.
at one point, we were up, if you get up to 10,000, then they have to bring some back down because it kind of fluctuates as people come and go. So,
That's good, I mean, that means.
Oh, yeah, it changes each year. I
Yeah,
mean, there's
yeah,
always,
yeah.
sometimes you have to owe a little bit, and other
Okay.
times you get some back. So that's very common.
Well, we know last year we ended up getting hit with some of that because of stuff that we weren't aware that we had to handle in the way we handled it, so, very good, very, so. Any other questions, comments?
Beth,
Just to let you know, Jill and I have already got a meeting scheduled for next week to start the budget process for
good.
next year, so.
Very good. When is your, I think your surgery, your knee replacement is scheduled for April, what?
April 25th, I've actually got it on
Oh,
the book, so it's April
okay.
25th. So I've
we-
tried to schedule everything in between budget seasons and everything
Yeah.
else.
Well, then we'll be seeing plenty of you in the 2 months before that then, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Next month.
Yeah,
Okay. Any further discussion? I need a motion to accept the financial report.
and I can't make it, so. Took me 12 years on the board to figure that out, but Mike finally got that through to me.
I'll move that we accept the, it'll be the February financial review, correct? So I think I got a little.
January.
January, sorry, my bad.
Oh, okay.
So I move that we accept the January financial review as written.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, good work. Got that done early.
Are you doing anything on the internal controls, or are you tonight or not, or?
Well, let's see. I think, I appreciate you going through my little draft there. Mike and Lori, did you have any additional questions on the internal control?
I think you answered them.
I
yeah.
think, yeah, with,
Is there anything we should be?
yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure before I got off that you didn't have any questions for me.
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
think,
we
I
appreciate
think you
that.
answered those in the email as far as I was concerned. I was comfortable. I don't
Well, I
wanna
think we
speak
are,
for-
we're more educated about the overall process, and, which we weren't before. But I think we're very well audited, and certainly the three manuals that you put together, the one which was first written in '09, I believe, you just updated that in 2020, I believe. That's your actual internal control procedures, so that should be.
And we're gonna be going back each year now just to make sure, so we can say for the audit that we've done that. Jill and I are gonna go through those annually,
Very
and we're
good.
gonna look at it when we're doing the budget. So we
Okay.
will have that, and if there's any changes, and if you guys wanna see those, then you can, but that's
Well,
what we're gonna do.
that's good, because I guess what it comes down to is, it's great to have all of the manuals, but then the question always is, well, are we following it? And certainly, I think that we do want to somehow include the board, or at least whoever might be involved on the board in that process, so that if somebody approaches any of us, that we can say, yeah, hey, we're right on top of it, we all know
So-
what's
The
going
goal's
on.
gonna be to get them in boardable,
Right.
Beth, and so,
Okay.
you know, that all of this, before we leave, needs to be accessible. Jill's got the shell up there. I think we're able to I added a folder and took it out myself. So the goal will be to have those manuals in PDF format, if you could do that and get them to us so we can start the structure in boardable.
Actually, Lori, we already have them there.
Yeah, they're already in PDF format, because one of the things we'll review like this year is making sure that, you know, with Kim coming on board, that everything has still stayed the same, and going through those type of things, just do a check and balance.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
very good.
Oh, I did notice we've got a new format on our disbursements journal, which we sign. Anything special that occasioned that?
Good eye, very good.
Yeah,
No, that's
well, I only
great. No,
got
so what
one
we're
that
doing
works,
is we've
but
changed
yeah,
how
I
we're
saw.
processing those, and it's a different, it is a different report. I mean, it's still the same information, but it's a different format.
The only thing I noticed I was just thinking that could be somewhat of a controlled document from a board standpoint, because we do get to see what all of the checks are that are written. The old format had a description of the account it went in. So a lot of the names, we don't know who they are, but with that account description, you could sort of make a better educated guess as to what it was going to. I noticed we missed that. And then at the top, it said on accrual basis. And I thought, well, wait a minute, the accrual and cash disbursements seems a little bit like a inherent contradiction perhaps, but.
Well, it's just because of the software. It's the software we're doing is on accrual basis, but the checks are obviously on cash basis.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
okay.
just the check, so it's cash. It's just it's in a different program is the reason why it says that. I'll be honest, I can take that out.
Oh, no problem at all. I just.
But that's what it is.
So
Yeah.
that report's going around somewhere. I don't know where it is.
It's done.
I
You
haven't
didn't
seen
sign it.
I haven't
Looks like
seen
your
it.
signature at the top.
It's your voucher report. That's all it is.
Beth, while we have you online, you know, we circulate that and we sign off on it, but honestly, from a board standpoint, even though we do get Jill emails that copy but we try for about a week ahead. Any suggestions on how a board could perhaps put that to better use? If you get the drift, I mean, it's difficult for us to even reading down through there since we don't know who a lot of those vendors are or what the transaction is to really draw a meaningful conclusion one way or the other.
Well, I mean, one of the things I could do if you wanted like to put a benchmark on like expenses over X amount, that we put a little more detail in there so that you can have an idea. We can give you, I mean, we get copies of like the canceled checks and things like that. Again, if you wanted that up on your boardable, like, you know, once you just pick a month and say, hey, we want to see this month, we could upload that because we keep that. So we could do that. That's another control that you could look at. I mean, there's some, I mean, because obviously it's just for board eyes only, but I think that would be something you could do. If you wanted to have, and then, again, you can spot check and say, just ask, and
Well, yeah,
we
that
can
always
provide those
works,
for
but-
you. I mean, that's another control.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to make something out of nothing there. I just,
No, I mean, but that's fair. I mean, and these are things that we can easily provide without costing extra,
Yeah.
a lot of extra money, because it literally takes a second for us to give you those things, because we keep those things, is why I'm saying that.
well, I think it is important because with our newer board members, yeah, let's say the new generation coming on here very soon, we do want to, I guess we do want to hand them something that's really humming and up and running effectively from a board control standpoint.
Well, that's full
So,
transparency, and I think that's always
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Well, you've been very helpful, I think, in answering, following up on all of our questions. And this is my 12th year, and I'm starting to get the hang of some of these grant programs and acronyms. So I am making some progress here, maybe too little too late, but anyhow.
You're doing great.
Okay, well, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I will call for the vote to approve the financial report with the sign of aye. Opposed, same sign. Good to go. All right, any old business?
Bye, Beth.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Beth.
Ryan Lynch has informed me that he is on Zoom.
Great, tell them thank you.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Is there a way to pull him up so he can talk? Say, I kind of just see myself right now. Well, and Mike too, but.
It's all about
Of course.
No, I just show one participant. I don't show Ryan on there. I don't know.
He's on the wrong Zoom call.
I think we're okay. We're okay. It's not necessary for a quorum or anything, and thank you for being on, and, yeah, we're fine. Okay, new business.
All right,
Jenny, this is where you give us the spotlight.
her time to shine.
I remember last year when you presented to us, I think you got, it wasn't a standing ovation, but a
Well,
round of
I
applause,
probably
as I
did.
recall. I'm not sure what we were applauding about, but I do remember that.
Do we need to do anything with this?
You just need to approve it. So that's just.
I know CJ talked after you
Yeah.
did, and he
So
didn't
just
get a
has to
round
go
of
ahead and-
applause, but I didn't
Yeah.
say anything about that.
I know it's there, but I just didn't know it.
All right, this is just like an overview program again, kind of, I did our student demographics again this year. Our numbers are down just a little bit as far as our Hispanic students this year. Well, I just got the numbers from Mark Dixon. We have 123 Hispanic students, 60% of the student population. Our language minority students, we have 81 of those are language minority, meaning since we belong to a consortium, our money goes to the consortium. We don't get that money here. It goes to the consortium. We, for our grant is about $5,000, our part. It goes to a consortium. Right now, there are 107 schools that belong to the consortium we belong to, which is at Lafayette. All the money's pooled together. They provide us, they get licenses for like reading A to Z, different software programs. We each get $200 for our family engagement. And we can ask for things like for that $5,000, but the money, they manage the money because they do the grant. We tell them what program or English language development program we're using, and then they manage that grant. So that money never comes here, it goes there. They also provide, this year, the DOE it's mandated we have to have, every school in Indiana has to have a teacher of record for their EL students. It's supposed to be 1 to 30. 1 to 30 students. A lot of schools aren't gonna be able to have that, especially your ones in Indy that have 1,000, 2,000 students. Luckily, we already have one. We already had one. Wendy South is our TOR here, and we have 51 students. Luckily, I was able to get another one because the state is allowing us to use a rubric, which doesn't require that the teacher has to have her ENL license or his ENL license. We were able to use a rubric where the teacher had to take a course, a college course, a language acquisition course, where they have take a class in language, and if they had to have a teaching license, they could use their years of teaching as part of those points. They had to get 100 points, and also do PD according, some ELPD. So now we have a TOR at the elementary building, so we have 2. So we're covered there. I have 2 teachers from the elementary who are doing if you look at the next page, we've got, let me go ahead, I'm jumping ahead of myself. The teacher of record, we have to have that due to our language levels, and that's due to WIDA. The WIDA test we just finished, the next page kind of tells what WIDA is. Now, if you look at the name, it's called WIDA, World Class Instructional Design and Assessment, and 40 states use it. That sounds like a pretty intense name for a test that assesses English language learners. And it is very academic. I will tell you, it's a very academic test. That's why it's hard to get, we rarely get a level 5. A level 5 is proficient. Maybe we get 1 a year, maybe. Because it's very academic. It tests listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Those are the 4 areas that it tests in. And most of the time, the speaking, they're low because they have to actually talk and they're afraid someone's gonna hear them, so we make it a really small group. The listening they do pretty well in. Reading and writing are low because, of course, it's the comprehension level, it's the just the reading in general. So we have a lot of our lower levels, like kindergarten, first, second, they are generally our 1s and 2s. From there up, it's 3s and 4s, and most of our pre-academy and academy students are stuck at level 3 and 4. They get stuck, and that's all over the state. I mean, it's everywhere.
So how does Indiana compare within the 40 states, and how do we compare within the 400 schools? Do you have that information? Or?
Well, I will tell you that we had an EL leadership meeting last week, and looking at the scores from that, Jennifer Wu was on there, from the state assessment director, and we compare pretty much the same with the other states. There are so many schools that The level 4s are pretty much, the students get kind of stagnant there. You really have to do some working to get the kids to test out at a level 5. That's why they require all these extra services and the push-in services, the extra language services, and it's still hard because one of the statistics she shared is the best time for these kids to test out is in 4th and 5th grade. Once they get past that, you're getting your kids into pre-academy and academy where they're getting into the content area. And they are struggling so much with that. They're being assessed, they're being, all these other assessments and everything. They get to the WIDA test, and I think it's just the whole assessment. They just are like these assessments, they just go through them. It's just like they have so many assessments to take. I don't know if they're not understanding. A lot of times they are rushing through it, and I tell them, this is one assessment that once they test at a level 5, they won't have to take again. So it's one assessment they can test out of. But it's just hard because they're in sections. Like kindergarten is one you have to sit down and do individually. 1st grade and 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, they take speaking, listening, and reading online, and then writing is a booklet. So you have to sit down with them and they write in the book. And the rest of them, it's all online. So, it's hard to get them to, buy in or whatever, because it's just, once they start taking it, it's like, oh, that test again, and it's just like, so they do advance from level 1, level 2, and a lot of them make it through level 3, but by the time they get to the level 4, it's just, they're categorized in kindergarten first, then it's 2nd, 3rd are together in one cluster test. 4th and 5th is a cluster test. 6th through 8th is a cluster test, and 9th through 12. So maybe in 2nd grade they don't do so well, but 3rd grade they might do better because they've already taken the same test. 4th and 5th, they might do not so well 4th grade, 5th grade, then they do better because they've taken that same test. I think that's why that's the area, because they're already improving in school. So in the 4th and 5th grade level, that's where they can test out. Then you get 6th through 8th. 6th grade, of course, it's going to be harder than the 5th grade test. So they don't do so well. They might go down a little bit. Then 7th, they might go up, and 8th, they're up. And then you go in the 9th through 12 cluster.
And I think, I'm going to interject on you.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest challenges our students face is also being grammatically proficient in their home language, but also, as she's talking about the tests, so we've got WIDA, which is a couple of weeks worth of tests, right? But we also have NWEA, beginning in the year testing. We also have iLearn, we have iRead. And so a lot of the kids, they're kind of just exhausted from it. So we're pretty comparable to where everybody is locally, and we have a few. One of Jenny's proud moments this year will be our first move into the country. Students will be graduating with a diploma, and really overcome a lot. So.
You took my highlight.
I'm sorry, I was excited for you. I didn't see it there. Oh, it's down there on the 3rd page.
No applause.
I'm
now.
sorry,
Sorry.
we'll keep going. Everybody pretend you did not hear that.
Standing ovation at the end.
You'll get it. I promise.
No.
So Jenny, what's the highlight of your program?
Well, we're going to get to that in just a minute.
Okay, all right, good.
That was going to be my ending.
Good.
No, that's one of our things that we've dealt with that we haven't had to. We have 3 in the high school. We have 2 from Mexico and 1 from Guatemala. Those are newcomer students who are fighting not only, language like our other students. Most of our students are like 2nd, 3rd generation Spanish speakers. So really, they're not Spanish speakers, but if you ask on the home language survey and it says, what was your first language? And it's Spanish, but that was when they were 2 or 3. So yeah, they've spoken Spanish. These kids, that's their native language, and our boy that's gonna be graduating, he still does not have a lot of English skills. He came here in 10th grade. The other one came from Guatemala last year in 10th grade, and the other one, he is doing better, but he came in 6th grade from Mexico. So these kids, and I have to give kudos to my EL aide, and, you know, that works in the pre-academy and academy, he keeps those boys on track. You know, it's like, what are you doing? What do you have to do? You're behind here. You've got 2 Fs. What are we doing? What do you need? You know, and he's just constantly like, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to, you know, get with this teacher. What do you need to do? We're missing this. And he's done that with the senior, you know, for 2 years now, and he will get to graduate.
So it's pretty obvious that if they come in at a higher level
Yeah.
of grade, then the difficulty
Oh,
is dramatic.
It is. It's like,
Okay.
that's pretty much Ben's full-time job, is those boys, just like keeping them
Well,
going.
keep
Yeah, keeping that.
good work.
But basically, the WIDA assessment tests their like social and instructional language, their language, it's the language of language arts, the language of math, the language of science, and the language of social studies. It's all about the language that goes with that. So once they're tested, again, they have an individual learning plan, and that's according to their language levels, and it is a legal document, just like an IEP. I mean, it has to be followed just like an IEP. And some, you know, it's just, you have to make sure the teachers are following it like the IEP. Now, last year, I didn't have the scores at my meeting last year. So last year we had 51% of the student scores increased, even though they weren't proficient. 51% increased, 33% students decreased, and 16% of student scores remained the same, which is good. You know, with all of the COVID and everything, when Jennifer was talking, I mean, you look across the state and there were a lot that went down. And for us to have 51% of our scores increase, I was pretty impressed with that.
Good.
You know, so SIOP, okay, getting to SIOP, this is what I was going to talk about earlier. This is Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol. This is something that will be very helpful for us because we don't have the funding to have a lot of staff to work with our EL kids because it has to come out of general funds. I mean, that is something that EL teachers, EL staff has to be paid for out of general funds because we don't have the money. We do have the NESP grant. I will address that. That is also based on, you get so much per student if they're level 1 and 2, and so much per student for 3 and 4. It did go up this year to like 19,000. It cannot mix with general funds. It can only be used for EL students. And I think 19,000, what can you get with that? You can't get a person. You can get like iPad, like we've got some iPads to work with some of our students at the elementary. You can get software. You can do family engagement. You can do, you know, pretty soon it's like, oh, you know, and I do give stipends. We give stipends for our TORs. I mean, if you're going to get people to do extra work, classroom teachers, you've got to give, you know, extra money. And so pretty much that's gone. And it has to be used for EL students or, you know, working with EL students, and it can't be mixed with general funds. So SIOP, I have been trained as a trainer, so I'm going to work with training. We also, Wendy went, and we have 2 teachers from the elementary who are going to take the training course this summer. What this does is level 1 and 2 students have to have pull-out services 30 to 45 minutes a day. Level 3s and 4s, if you have your teachers trained in SIOP, which is an ongoing thing, you can train them like a day or 2, you know, and give them the overview, but then it's a constant thing where you're monitoring or going in and, you know, making sure they're doing things. That's enough. They can provide the language acquisition, you know, skills to their students within the classroom. So that's a good thing. You don't have to have the extra staffing to do that. They can provide that. Level 1 and 2 students, however, have to have extra services. So I went ahead, I got that so then I can provide, some training. And when the others get trained in that, then I can do the monitoring and observing and monitoring. As the director, I can do the monitoring, making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and let the other ones who are trained to train know where we need to hit those pockets. So, now, my highlight. All right, so we have an ELL student from Mexico who came in 10th grade. He's a senior and will be graduating from APA. He's a level 1.5 out of 5. His English skills have improved, but he still relies on the assistance and support of the EL program. Mr. Murray, the ELL aide in academy and pre-academy, has provided daily support to the student for 2 years. With guidance as well as with the high school teachers who have been great at providing the necessary accommodations, the student has persevered and will be able to graduate with his peers this
Good
year.
deal.
So,
Okay, now,
Yeah, you got your applause.
and his parents live in Mexico. He's up here with his aunt. He's staying with his aunt. His father is coming for his graduation. So, of course I'm going and Mr. Murray's going, because, that's kind of our kid, because it's like, it's always like, Victor, come on, what are we doing? What are we doing? Good stuff. And he's doing well. And he's very, if Mr. Murray's not here, they're emailing me. Where's he at? Where's he at? So it's just, they're very connected. And these students become very connected because they rely on those who are constantly checking on them. And, you have to make sure they're on their path because they just need that extra support. And so, anyway,
Very
does
good.
anybody have any questions about anything that we've gone through?
Good work.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting.
very
Thank
good
you.
report, clear and very easy to follow.
Yep.
So the next on the agenda is the Food to School Cooperative Renewal. And you should have a copy of that in your packet.
I don't think that
Looks
was
like
in the
this.
packet, was it?
It-
Was the very back? Oh, there it is, I missed, okay. I got 2 copies.
And then the agreement follows. So again, we're looking for the Cliff Notes version of the agreement.
Cliff Notes version. So we get substantial savings going through a purchasing co-op. And we entered this co-op during the 1920 school year. And definitely as we have been navigating COVID, it has been very helpful to have that pooling resource available due to supply chain issues. They are changing a couple of the vendors because the vendors cannot continue supplying because of COVID. But my recommendation is that we continue this partnership and keep using the service.
And we did get a board presentation a couple of years ago
Yes.
in 1920, not the year 1920, 2019, 2020,
Yes.
where they came in, made the presentation, told us about their purchasing, and obviously it's purchasing in a group that gives benefits to those. So, and the cost for doing this was,
We do not have a cost, we just go through their vendors.
but
That's the
wasn't there
agreement.
like a registration? Like, I thought there was like a couple $100.
Now, if I remember from the last time we renewed this, our reason for doing it, and I almost asked this earlier when we were talking about food service costs, but I was thinking when I saw this up again, I thought, well, now, why do we need cost savings if all of our food service purchases are reimbursed?
Because we are only allowed to request a certain amount for reimbursable rates. So we have a fixed rate meal price. and so we have to keep our costs
Okay.
under there.
All right.
I would think you'd want more bang for your buck.
Well, and I
So
think that
quantity.
was one of the big selling points. You said that by going through this group purchasing consortium or whatever, we would be able to offer a lot of food selections that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
So I need a motion to approve the renewal.
I make a motion to approve the food to school purchasing cooperative approval that we need for 2022, 2023.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All four with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I think we've got discussion. Anybody have anything else for any further discussion?
I wanted to see, they may be out there somewhere, but I wanted to look at the emails for our two new board members, especially.
I can send them to you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, the emails for our two new board members. I wanted to send them a link for the meeting and some other things
Okay.
like that.
I'll send them to you.
Yeah, and I've moved them on to that listserv email that I have.
Okay.
So any reply, I'll go to them.
Good.
But-
Perfect.
Okay.
And they are in Boardable now.
Awesome.
Okay, so which is a perfect segue to Boardable.
Boardable.
And just a reminder that Boardable is where we're going moving forward. So please, if you have not registered, register. And please access it. And remember, that's where the board assessments
The board assessments were in Gmail. Are on
But they're
Google
going to be
Forms, so I'm
moved
working on
to-
to move them there.
Yeah. So please, after each board meeting, do the board assessments. That tells us how we're doing going forward.
And I asked, Mike and Jill are the ones that get those. So,
And for the meantime, I'll send out another form, just so that there's one for each time period.
And essentially, we're getting good grades for our meeting. The materials are prepared well. Board members are prepared and ready to ask questions. Meeting's well facilitated. We focus most of the time on what's important, which is student growth, achievement, stewardship, and the funding. And then we use the meeting time well. A couple of comments that we've had were some good comments about the audit from the last, well updated, and then the board meetings will continue to improve if we provide a background on how the agenda items are supporting the mission of APA, and reduce the time that we're spending on finances. So
oh,
the comment was
well,
that
that
we get
finance
a
guy
little.
talks entirely too long. I agree with you. We've got a problem.
Sometimes we're getting a little too deep on,
Yeah.
so. Okay, any questions about Boardable? And you're gonna send an email for the next one,
Yep,
okay?
I'll send the new
Okay.
part out. And I would point out on Boardable, Ryan, I was gonna have him go through a couple of the features with you. As you are working through it, where you see BSU C Sapphire, a lot of that is our foundational documents. C Sapphire is a data warehouse over at Ball State, and that is where I have to submit all of my reports. It's where renewals go through. A lot of good stuff is housed in there, and so I have my intern copy what's currently in C Sapphire and put it into Boardable so that you would have access to all of that. She and I are working on trying to get more of my files from my H drive over into the Boardable, and then a very ambitious summer project. I still have 2 file cabinets of Bob's files. All were hard copy, so we will be digitizing and getting those. So they are, the really important ones are in a fire safe, so we're okay there, but making sure that we have digital copies as well.
So Jill, when I used this before, we had a login for the board where the stuff we're looking at was there, but then from the school's website, parents and public could get to boardable documents as well, like agendas and like past minutes. I didn't see that, is that just not
No.
something we purchased, or it's not set up?
We
or-
do not have that set up, and
Okay.
currently, if they want access to that, our website has it.
Okay,
The Go APA website, under the Board of Directors, it has the last 3 years of minutes and agendas on there.
So do we really want a lot of that information that's in boardable accessible to?
no, it was behind a firewall, so
Okay,
your board
that's-
had everything, and then we only allowed the public, it was, instead of maintaining 2 copies on a copy on the website and a copy in boardable.
Sure.
We eliminated the copy on the website and
Right.
just used boardable. But the firewall prevented all those
Yeah,
documents from being
that would be
visible.
my,
Credentials, or whatever you wanna call it, authentication.
No, that makes sense. I will entertain, unless there is any other discussion, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll move that we adjourn board meeting.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second, and 1 hour and 9 minutes. Good work, gang. Jenny, thank you very much for your presentation.